Welcome to the Fish Corner. If you're new to the channel, my name is Cleveland. So, as you can see, I'm in my robe. It's early in the morning, but I woke up with something on my mind. Over the weekend, I've noticed that there's been some videos that's been put out, kind of like just a little bit of banter, opposing sides of different YouTubers believing on one opposing side, you have people that believe that you could get to a situation with your aquariums to where you have to do no water changes ever. And then on the other side, you have the rebuttal, and they're saying that this information is false, that you need to do your water changes. And for the people that see the video talking about doing no water changes, ignore it. So I just feel like that I'm the perfect one to throw his opinion in on this topic. Now, I'm a student of life. I don't know about a lot of other people, but I'm a student of life. That being said, when I say I'm a student of life, I've seen the videos of this specific YouTuber talking about no water changes and things like that. And I'm going to go into detail on why I believe that he's saying that he could do this. And then on the other side, I do understand why there's people that do religious water changes, weekly water changes, 80% water changes every other week, once a week, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand both sides. I haven't been on a no water change spectrum at all, but I want to talk about that. So let's talk about I'm going to describe the aquarium of, say, this YouTuber's aquarium to where he feels that he could have or do no water changes. So this aquarium set up for over 20 years. Over 20 years, same aquarium. That's one of the main factors. The longer you go with your aquarium, the less maintenance you do have to do depending on the way you have it set up. So 20 years, that's one thing. It's full of live plants, soil, small guppies, minnow fish, mosquito fish, things like that. Mainly guppies, very small, very low stocking, heavily planted. That kind of makes a lot of sense though, right? Low stocking, a ton of plants, which removes the nitrates from the water. The beneficial bacteria facilitates the nitrogen cycle, right? The ammonia is converted into nitrites. The nitrites is converted into nitrates. Plants eat up the nitrates. If you have no plants, you have to remove those nitrates by way of water change. Now, if you have a minimum stocking tank, very minimal stock tank, like per se this aquarium, especially if it's like something like 20 gallons, something like that, right? Small fish, a lot of plants. If you're having heavy water evaporation, so you're constantly putting fresh water in there every couple of days, every few days, you could potentially get away with no water changes. I cannot tell you how long you could go like that. I'm a fan of doing water changes. I'm a fan of getting in there and cleaning my aquariums. I love gravel vacuuming. I've said it before. It's nothing like seeing all of that muck come out of that sand. It's nothing like it. So I couldn't get to the point to where I would just be okay with leaving it in there, but I'm just trying to understand why and how this person could say they could go with no water changes and why they believe that. If you're having heavy water evaporation, you're constantly putting in fresh water, and you have the plants removing the nitrates, and then also the fresh water also aids in diluting whatever nitrates is in the water, you can't get away with doing no water changes, I believe. I have an 800-gallon pond that I set up probably like 6 months ago. I've done one water change. It has heavy evaporation. I have a dehumidifier in here, and I open up my fish room every day to let fresh air come in, let the sun come in, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm constantly adding fresh water to my pond. I have done one water change, and that's because I repotted my plant. I don't have to do any water change on it. Water crystal clear. Fish are doing absolutely amazing, but it's a ton of plants in there, and I'm constantly adding fresh water in there. And also, I'm not against doing a water change. If I see it look a certain kind of way, I'm on it. Now, This is all contributed to the plants. If you have absolutely no plants in your aquarium, and this is what they are saying on the other spectrum, if you have absolutely no plants in your aquarium, you have plastic rock work, you have plastic decor in your aquarium, you have plastic plants, etc., etc., you are going to have to do water changes because you're going to have to pull out the nitrates. And you also want to make sure that you're adding fresh water on top of that. As the water evaporates, add the fresh water in. This doesn't count as a water change. The water change is you taking some water out and then putting some new water in. That's the water change. So adding water, topping it off for water evaporation is also essential. You still want to do that. Now, this is where I stand on all of this. So as you can see, you can understand why someone on this side of the spectrum could say such a thing, and then you could understand why someone over here could say such a thing. You definitely can't find a way to go long periods of time without water changes, depending on your stocking, depending on the way you have it set up, depending on your standards. You can potentially go a long time. Like I said, this tank was set up for over 20 years. I'm pretty sure he didn't say this at year 10. Maybe he did, I don't know. But at year 20, you could definitely say something totally different than what someone at year 1, month 2, month 3 could do. If you're just getting started, you can't consider what someone is saying that's doing it for 20 years, because it takes time to build up to that. It takes knowledge, takes understanding to get to there. So starting off, you will have to do water changes, unfortunately. Now, building your tank to be more sustainable, where it's a lot of hands off. Like, I like hands off, only not because I'm lazy. I love getting in there and dealing with my fish, but I love to stay out of their home. I want them to feel like it's theirs. You get what I'm saying? I want the tank to be an ecosystem. I'm big on that ecosystem. That means I want to have plants. That means I want to have bottom feeders. That means I want to have top feeders, middle column swimmers. I have the plecos doing their job. If I can have snails, I have the snails doing their jobs. So I want to have an ecosystem. I want to take a pond and put it into an aquarium. Or I like my pond, I took an outside pond and put it on the inside. I like to try to do the same. I try to mimic what's in my pond and put it into my aquariums when and where I can. I can't really put plants inside of my aquariums because I have aggressive cichlids and they tear the plants up. Now I could put plants in my sump and grow plants in there, and it still would do the same thing, which I probably would do, but it don't have the aesthetics of seeing the beautiful plant greenery inside your aquarium. So you do have to keep that in mind when you have certain fish. But it's all about learning, and it's about that way. If you learn, that's why I said originally I'm a student of life. So I don't just dispute what someone says because I don't quite understand it. When someone is saying, "Oh, you could get your aquarium to the point to where you don't have to do any water changes at all." So I don't just dispute that. I actually learn. Like I said, I've watched a lot of the videos. I know who you're talking about. And then on the other side, I've seen the other YouTubers. I also watch them too. You know, shout out to y'all. Shout out to everybody. You know, do y'all thing. But just try to understand more of both sides. You know what I mean? We all have a certain way of putting our information out there, and it is about context. It's all about breaking it down and making sure there's plenty of clarity involved. And also, I just learned something that I'm one of the minorities in the fish hobby. That being said, because a lot of people don't have this insane passion for the fish hobby. So I thought that everybody that got an aquarium had the same passion for fish. But sometimes, you know, it's a fish that you got at the carnival. It's a fish that you got, you know, your kid because they got good grades. So, and interest loses quickly. So, as a content creator and as someone that does love the hobby so much and want to teach about the hobby, it's big and very important for me to make sure that I put the correct information out there and explain myself a little bit better. So I will start doing that more so. But yeah, so if you catch this video, you know who you are. You know, I do respect your opinion on why you feel like you could go without doing any water changes. But think about it like this. If you're new to the hobby, you're a kid, you're just getting into it, even if you're a parent and your kid want to just get into it and you don't know that much, you can't start off telling someone that because they will probably lose their fish. You got to be a little bit more responsible. So, yeah, for everybody that's just getting started in the hobby, kids, adults, whoever, getting started, you will unfortunately have to do water changes. Especially depending on how you have your tank set up. I can show you a couple of my aquariums, and so you can see how I have aquariums with sponge filters. I have aquariums with hang on the back filters. I have aquariums with canister filters, and then I have aquariums with my DIY sumps. So before we end this video, let's take a look at all of them. I haven't done any, this is not a highlight reel, so you're gonna see some dirty tanks. You're gonna see the reality of it, and you're gonna see how they get how they're filtered with these filters. On top of the fact, I still gotta do water changes. Let's take a look. All right, so this right here is my 40-gallon. It's being ran off just a sponge filter. As you can see, this water is crystal clear. Everybody is doing good. I do absolutely no water changes on this, just top it off. And I haven't gravel vac, nothing. I haven't cleaned the rocks. I haven't wiped down the glass. I haven't done a single thing to this aquarium other than just add water to it. So that's ran off a sponge filter. This tank right here, this tank right here, get all the scratches on there. That's from years of heavy rock work, scratching the glass. I don't care. So this tank right here gets a lot of sun from the open garage. So you can see all the green algae right there, all on the sand. Water still crystal clear. Ran off just the one little hang on the back filter. It's a ton of fry in here. This one right here get even more sun because here's the garage. This is ran off of a hang on the back filter. Now this one is this one has to actually get a lot of maintenance. I don't do it enough. Now, this 240 is ran off of one canister filter. Water crystal clear. So the theme here is that water is always crystal clear. I know, look at Oscar, you ready to eat, you hungry, huh? Vieja, green base snook, big red tail gourami, Madagascar, a bunch of catfish in here, my favorite. We got the Maniguins, the Jag right here, another Vieja, Bisher. All right. Now this tank right here is ran off of my DIY sump, 150-gallon flower horn aquarium. Water is crystal clear. Also have back there 2 sponge filters. Look at you. 2 sponge filters. Now we do got a gravel vac. That's what I would gravel vac. That's what I would take out. All that is pleco feces. Little shrimp tank, ran off of a sponge filter. Big 225 turtle tank, that's ran off of a DIY sump and a canister filter. And then this one gets a bunch of light, but ran off of a 110 hang on the back Fuval aqua clear filter. Water crystal clear, but algae on the glass. Like I said, we're not doing highlight reels. We're not gonna clean the aquariums and say, oh, take a look at my beautiful aquarium. It's water crystal clear, no algae on the glass. I get algae on my glass. I get algae on the glass until I have to clean it. And only this one because it's right here in front of the window, obviously. And this one gets a lot of light from the pond. Let's take a look at the pond. All right, y'all, so let's take a look at the pond. Water is sparkling. Water is sparkling. No, a little bit of algae over there on that. But for the most part, no algae on the sides. I don't wipe it down. Not anymore. I don't have to anymore. Why? This plant, man. Look at this plant. That's why. This is why I no longer have algae in the pond. Look at this sparkling, crystal clear water. And as you can see, natural leaves get the little tannins in the water, help the water be a little softer, things like that. I don't even pull that out. It's kind of like the leaf litter that you buy and then you just throw in there. Once it started getting really, actually the fish kind of eat it sometimes too. So anyway, look at that. Look at the arrow. But yeah, water, sparkling. I've only had to do one water change on it, and that was after I repotted this big plant right here because the water was looking a little muddy. But other than that, just top it off. But when I top it off, I put in here probably 50 to 100 gallons probably every single time I top it off. And that's at least once a week. So yeah, it keeps the water looking real good. Fish real happy. And this guy's a real stunner. Look at all the plants. And I got the plastic right here to keep the humidity down inside the pond. So you can use that. We got some collard greens right there growing. Collard greens, some collard greens. All right, so just to recap on everything that we talked about how we have a situation. It's a bit of a situation only because it's half-assed information being put out to where about whether or not you could go a long time or go life without doing any water changes. And then on the other side of the plateau, you have that the other side saying that you have to do your water changes. Now, I agree that you got to do your water changes. You got to do your water changes. If you get to a situation where you could go an extended period of time without doing water changes, you will have to deal with still certain things. You're going to deal with a lot of nastiness on the bottom of the aquarium because everything's going to break down over time because you're pulling nothing out, things like that. So, you know, if that's the kind of aquarium that you want to have, you could definitely have that. It can be managed because you have thick substrates, all this other stuff. But again, it's all about the different elements and what your standard is. I think a nice, healthy looking aquarium is what we all want. So whatever that means to you is what you should try to achieve. Now, you do need to remember pulling out all of the nitrates, all the phosphates, all of the detritus, all the heavy, large organics that you can't pull out from your filter will make your aquarium look a lot better. But anyway, that's about it. I've had you guys long enough. I hope that you enjoyed this video. This is a little bit different. But like I said, I've been seeing what's being said out there. And, you know, I got to chime in on it. I've been in the hobby long enough. Anyway, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload. And I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. I appreciate you all. Peace.